Hello everyone, a little bit colder today, and it's definitely a little bit on the mouth. On the thing is, I'm wrapped up here to keep myself warm. Now, one thing I was going to talk about was the whole insulin thing and Brexit. Now, the reason why we diabetics are genuinely concerned is because without insulin we will die. You can't just replace insulin with something else. You can't. Our insulin is limited shelf life. That means that it cannot sit on a lorry for days. If the refrigerator goes, the insulin becomes unusable. And the argument as well that insulin, there's insulin supplies in Britain, that's also false. There's about 1%. And it's not really recommended. We get mainly our insulin from Nordisk, which is a Swedish company, I believe. But we rely heavily on a lot of European insulin. And with any deadlocks with trade going back and forth, any ports, it becomes very dangerous if the insulin is delayed by any amount of time. I mean, this is life, literally this is life or death for people. And this is something that Brexiteers have not at all addressed. They'll use their Project Fear all a single time, but not really understanding that Project Fear could be Project Murder, Project Manslaughter, if these issues are not addressed pretty sharpish. This is why we can't just. This is why the likes of Mog have not given us any security. The likes of Farage, they've just banged on a Project Fear. They've not provided us with reassurances. Their whole argument is, oh, well, they won't just let you die. Yes, they won't, unintentionally. They won't just suddenly decide to let people die if they can't help it. But at the same time, if they don't know what they're doing, they by force of actions may do. I'm sure the people who put up the cladding on the Grenfell Towers didn't intentionally want anyone to die. They were just doing what was said. And that's my issue, that you can't just assume everything is going to be okay without planning for it. And this is why a lot of diabetics now are starting to stockpile, or even are now asking for the government to, if they can't secure insulin, to cancel Brexit, to revoke it. Now, the reason why isn't because they are anti-Brexit or pro-European. It's because they are now deeply concerned about their insulin. The World War II attitude isn't a great attitude for insulin. So it gives us two major issues. One, we know that the UK cannot supply our insulin on its own. So we're going to have to rely on a lot of companies from overseas to do that. Now, the only way that we can keep trade flow going is we need some sort of deal. We need a free trade agreement. WTO would take forever in port. It's been stated that even over 1 minute of checks could create a massive backlog of lorries. This is something that diabetics cannot afford. They cannot afford a major disruption in their medical supplies, because you will literally kill us. And there's no argument. And the I'm alright Jacks of the world, who don't have diabetes, they probably won't worry. They're more worried about bendy bananas or wonky veg, by the way, which was another fabricated lie. There's nothing to stop you from selling that type of thing. The only problem was supermarkets preferred wonky veg and wonky fruit, and some of them even looked into selling it. It was more of an issue with the supermarkets rather than EU. So that said, and I think, and I've always said, for Brexiteers, if you want to win the Remainers over, we have a set of concerns that you can't just deny. Like saying Project Fear or you haven't a clue. When a security expert who worked in Northern Ireland claims that there will be great issues with the WTO rules with the the Ireland borders, which are open because of the Good Friday Agreement, you will be breaching it. But WTO rules will mean we'd have to. He said if you put someone on that border to check, they will get shot. If you put security on that border to help, they will get shot. If you put the army there, they will get shot. You'll be essentially creating a civil war in Ireland. But obviously the Brexiteers haven't. I said, oh, that's a load of rubbish. Have you noticed how many experts are idiots or also like vested interest? Yet at the same time, we have one of the core Brexiteers, James Dyson, moving his company to Singapore. And we are seeing more Singapore, by the way, have a free trade agreement with Europe, so he can still supply his Hoovers into Europe if he wishes to, without any issues. But we don't have that. We are going to be basically outside the car park with a sign saying, "We'll drop trousers for trade deal." We are going to make ourselves look incredibly weak. We're not going to be strong enough. The Empire days are over. We have nothing really. The only thing we have to offer, realistically, are the things that we do not want to get rid of. The NHS. America wants to bring in the NHS into private hands, and it wants to lower the food standards. Now you might say that's nothing, but let's look at it this way. We have in America. They make They make the same material that's used in flip-flops, and they put them in burgers and chicken nuggets. In America, they have chlorinated chicken. That basically means that chicken is so poor that they have to wash it in bleach before even consuming it. Now, that means that chlorine might be in the food supply. So you're essentially eating bleach when you eat chlorinated chicken. And hormone-produced beef. Now, when you inject beef with antibiotics, you weaken their effectiveness in the food chain. This is what happened, and we've had this before. We had this with the mad cow disease in the 80s, the salmonella. When we lower our food standards, we create health problems. We've done that, and this is something that Brexiteers, I wouldn't say are stupid, because I don't think that's a fair estimate. I believe some of them may have voted for the right reasons, but didn't fully understand the consequences of what would happen. And to suddenly say, let's have a no-deal Brexit, when everyone that isn't going to make a massive profit because of Brexit, or isn't going to suddenly have a huge advantage because of it, when everyone else is saying this is a bad idea, listen to them. When Airbus tells you they are worried, listen to them. Don't listen to the guy from T.J. Witherspoon's, who has one of the worst employment problems. He has no problem with operating zero contracts. There was even a letter that was sent to the company by the father of a son who asked to borrow money to buy a new pair of shoes, and that had to walk from his house to get his shift just to make the rent. These are the guys that want Brexit, the guys that want to cut your rights at work, that want to cut corners on people's safety just so they don't have to pay more money. These are the people that want Brexit. There's also the people who don't want to pay extra tax, or people to find out about their little tax havens that they've got. These are the people who want Brexit. These are the people that pushed it. And you can argue about the global elites being in Brussels, but let's face it, the Etonian elites are the ones pushing for Brexit. because they know that once the laws that are in EU, the Court of Human Rights, for example, some of the trading laws, once them standards have been lowered, it will mean that they have free rein to do what they want, providing that they haven't cocked it up themselves and have not underestimated what's going to happen. So that's me done for today. But I would ask all hardcore Brexiteers, if you want to convince us, give us real facts. Don't just assume that that somehow everything will magic itself out into like being okay. This is what negotiations are for. This is the issues that we raise, that you and Farage and Mogg and Johnson, these are the issues that you've got to figure out and sort. And the red lines that the Tories have done are just stupid. You're going to have to make some compromises because we are going to be out of the club, and the club will not give us a deal that suits us over its members. Just remember that. Okay, bye.